Hello everyone, it's another episode of PlayStation Pursuit here. I got another nice stack of games here, and I got these through trading in some Atari games that I had in my collection, because as I'm getting rid of my collection, I think most of my Atari stuff, I've acquired it over the years. Some of it was childhood games and stuff, but I have the least attachment to that, so I had no problem getting rid of that, unlike some of the other stuff that I'm getting rid of. So, but at the same time, I don't feel like trying to find somebody who wants to buy Atari titles. So anyway, that's what I traded in, and I'll show you what I got. Okay, so I used the store credit to get some decent titles, ranging from common to more obscure or more coveted titles. So let's get started with some of the basic ones. This is a puzzle game I've never played. It's called Super Bubble Pop, so pretty cool to have that one. Complete, nice, colorful disc. I like that. The bubbles on there look awesome, so very glad to have that one. And then I have here a sequel to a game I have. It's in the Might and Magic series, which I guess is started on the PC. It's been on other platforms throughout history. But I have Crusaders of Might and Magic, I think it's called, on PS1 already. But I kind of liked what I played of it. It was very choppy because it was trying to do too much for the PlayStation, I think. And this is another in the series. So Warriors of Might and Magic. And it's kind of a Western RPG. Kind of the reason I liked the Crusader one I played is it reminded me of something that you'd see more today, but it came out a long time ago, so kind of ahead of its time. But like I said, it probably pushed the system too far. But we'll see how that one is. This one I used to have, and actually traded it to a buddy of mine not too long ago when he knew I was getting rid of some stuff, and before I decided to focus on PlayStation. And one of the reasons I traded it to him is because it's a series you see a lot, and I see the game a lot. So finally used some credit to get it back into my system, or my system. Yeah, I'm like taking it in. I cap my arm off, tighten it up, and inject this game into my veins. Tomb Raider Chronicles. Getting into the collection is what I meant to say. But yeah, fourth Tomb Raider on fourth or fifth I think on PlayStation. Probably the last one for the system, and glad to have that back. And then this game, I actually talked about the first game on the PlayStation in the series that I absolutely loved. And I rented this back in the day, but I never owned it, so I'm really glad to have that. And it is Medal of Honor Underground. And it's in really good shape, and even has like a little EA advertisement thing in there, which is always cool when you get the little extras that originally were packed in. This is another really fine Medal of Honor first-person shooter for the PlayStation. And you play as a female, I think French female spy, and it's pretty cool from what I played, but I'm looking forward to really digging in. This game, I know, isn't the best. I played a demo back in the day, and it was clunkier controls than you'd want in a platformer, but it's got fantastic cover art, and it's got the voice acting by one of my favorite late comedians who has an unfortunate story about how he passed. And the game is Blasto, and he is voiced by Phil Hartman. If you don't know how Phil Hartman died, it's really tragic. But I love his comedy. I love the way he speaks, especially the old classic Saturday Night Live sketches and everything. So glad to have Blasto, and I don't think you can really tell maybe through because it's very shiny, almost like holographic, and it looks really cool. So very, very, very happy to add this one to the collection. So let's take a little break, and I'll show you a couple more of my favorite PlayStation games, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the rest of the trades that I got. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some more of my favorite games for the PS1. One of them that I want to talk about is a game that I got okay reviews back in the day. I think it had like 7s, 8s. Probably a couple said it was great, but a lot of them said it was bad too. So, it's a decent game, but I've noticed over the years more people saying bad things about it. I know a few people who don't like it, but I really like this game. So, the game is Fighting Force for the PS1. Now, what this game is a three-dimensional beat-em-up, and I love old-school beat-em-ups. Turtles in Time, River City Ransom. My favorite all-time series for beat 'em ups is the Streets of Rage series. 2's the apex, but I love all 3 on the Genesis. And from what I've read, I didn't do any research before this episode, but I've read it in magazines and on the internet in the past. This game was supposed to be a Streets of Rage 3D. I think that might have been the concept or the initial demos of it. They were going for that, and you can kind of tell with the characters they went with. It looks like, you got Max and Axel and Blaze, and this shorter girl could have been Skate or something like that. So that very well may be true. But what I like about it is that most three-dimensional beat 'em ups, even if they're good, they don't feel like beat 'em ups of yore, the classic moving through the level, and something about the controls in 3D never feel quite as tight as in 2D. Now, I'm not going to say that this game controls as well as the 2D beat 'em ups, but there's a certain level, I think it's because it's like a midway point, a first attempt at 3D, there's something that kind of makes it feel a little more classic and play like those old school beat 'em ups, and that's why I really like it. It has the look and feel of something like Streets of Rage, which I love so much, and I think that that's why this game is a little underrated. I think it's if you really take the time to play it, and at this point, if you're watching the series and you don't think PlayStation graphics are so bad that all the games are unplayable, then you might not listen to my recommendations at all. But if you can get over that, I mean, I actually think the graphics in this game are actually pretty good for the PlayStation. At the time, it was fine, and the varied environments and stuff remind me of the kind of stuff you'd see in a Final Fight or Streets of Rage. And I think this hasn't been topped as the 3D version of a Streets of Rage feeling game. There are better beat 'em ups out there. I like the Warriors on PS2 and Xbox, probably on GameCube as well. And I like Urban Reign on PS2 is very good. That's probably the next best one in my opinion. But they still have that feeling of the next level of beat 'em up evolution, and this I like because it still feels a little bit like the classic beat 'em ups, having the enemy's name on the screen and all that. And just like I said, the controls, because even though it's 3D, it's still a little more. I mean, when this game came out, I don't think the analog controller was even out yet, so the controls being on the D-pad I think really helped with that. So definitely a cool game. Check it out. It's not too expensive. The second one, I still need it for the collection, but it's a very big deviation from the series. It's not a Streets of Rage type game. It's more of a third-person action-adventure game, and I remember hating the demo I played back in the day, but maybe now that I'm just exploring the PlayStation 1 library, maybe I'll like what it is, knowing that it is not a true sequel to this. So, but definitely check this out if you haven't played it before. Okay, the next PlayStation game I'm going to talk about is one I got a year or two ago from my good buddy Oleg. I think he got it for me for my birthday, and as soon as I played it, I just fell in love with this game, and it became one of my favorite games on the entire system. It's a Capcom fighter, and that is Rival Schools. Now, I'm not a fighting aficionado. I'm not a master of playing with an arcade stick. I played on controllers my whole life. I played with the arcades too, but I'm used to playing on a controller. I have my favorites of fighting games, but I'm not super competitive. I'm not, I want to master all the movesets of these characters. I just like to pick it up and play. And so, on the scale of fighting games in general, I don't know where this falls, like where the fighting game community would think of this game. I know it's a revered game, but I absolutely adore it. This is one of my top 10 favorite fighters ever now since I played it. And it's got 2 discs. I think one is arcade mode, and then the other one is evolution disc. So this has like more modes and features to it. But just getting down to the fighting, I love it because it's very simple to pick up and play and do really flashy, cool moves, but it feels familiar to other fighters you've played. And it's really cool too because it's a 3-dimensional fighter, but it's very tight and reminds me of a 2-dimensional fighter, and I think that's one reason I really like it. Another thing I really love about it is the art style. It's got an anime aesthetic with the character design and stuff, but they are in fully 3D, like I said. It's not sprite based. So what I like about it is the anime style carries well over into the 3-dimensional character models, similar to why the Mega Man Legends games hold up and stuff, because they're very simple, crisp, cartoony, and this game definitely has that element of art design and everything. But even the box has really cool art design behind the discs and everything. And another cool thing about it is the concept. So the characters and the backgrounds, it's all on between like school campuses and stuff, and so there's different like gymnasium and the courtyard and the rooftop and all these different places, soccer field, and then that also carries over to the characters. You have sports team members, you have like the principal and coaches and just different cool designed characters, and they all have just very interesting moves. And I mean, I really love like I don't know the characters' names because I've only played it a few times since I've gotten it. But there's like a baseball star character who like has a baseball bat, and it's like so cool. So, you know, some characters have weapons, and some characters just fight with their fists or another fighting style. And so there's a lot of variety to it. It's really cool. It's not just one of those one-on-one fighters that just like feels like everybody is a martial arts twist off each other. Like this has just each character is like, you like this character because he's big and he's got these crazy moves, or you like this character because he's small and fast but has like weapons, or you'll have this character who has a large weapon but isn't too slow like the larger enemies, or I keep saying enemies, larger characters he plays. So just really cool, a lot of variety. Blew me away when I played it, and I've always wanted to play it because I used to read about it in magazines and stuff back in the day, and it always looked cool to me. So it was great that when I finally did get a chance to play it, it lived up to the expectations and actually exceeded them. So if you haven't played this one, and you like fighters, especially if you like them like I do, a more arcadey style and not getting too competitive, you'll probably be able to pick this up, play it, and really enjoy it. So check it out. Alright, so the last game I wanted to talk about is in a very popular series that started on the PlayStation. Well, in the arcades, I guess, but PlayStation is what popularized it at home, and it's still going today, although I don't know when the last one came out and when the next one is going to come out, but it seems like it's a franchise that's still going, and this is my favorite in the series. So it's a classic Namco franchise, and the franchise is Ridge Racer, but Ridge Racer Type 4 is my absolute favorite. This one has a very unique style, and I've always liked the arcadey style of the Ridge Racer series. The drifting is so over the top but so fun. You just take those corners, you know, with a full slide, perfect arcade style racer, and I love that about it. But what I liked about this one is its whole aesthetic. It just kind of upped everything. You know, it was always a fast, smooth racing game series in general, and still is. Although almost all the ones in the series, except for some of the weird offshoots and stuff, really run fast and have that same drifting style gameplay. So it was really cool to play this back in the day because it felt like the other ones that I played before, but the aesthetic, like I mentioned, it's got a very slick style between the music, the introduction cinematics, and then just the way the graphics look in the game. It's fantastic looking for PS1. The lighting in particular and the shading really just has its own style, and this came out after Gran Turismo, which kind of showed what the PlayStation could do for like a realistic racer. And even though Gran Turismo is a very good game, it's also very simulation heavy, and so if you're like me and you like the more arcade style racers, this was much better in my opinion. But I like that they had to up their game because of Gran Turismo's popularity, and I think it really shows. So that's really awesome. It has the you know, all these cool maps, and one thing I like, I don't know if you can tell from the pictures, but it has such great skyboxes. Sometimes they don't have clouds and stuff in them, but just the shading of the gradient of the sky looks like how you expect the sky. And I remember the night tracks in this, there's nighttime city tracks, look fantastic. You're driving through the city, and it just reminds me of that glow, that like amber glow of like city lights. You know, it's not these cool blue lights, it's like this amber, like almost like they got this like golden hue to the lighting, and it reminds me of actual nighttime city lighting, and it was really impressive back in the day on the PS1. And I'm not done talking about the game. There's one other cool little bonus thing. It has 2 discs. It's not just one of those 1 disc and 2 or 2 disc case with 1 disc in it. It has Ridge Racer bonus turbo mode disc, and from what I remember, it is a 60 frames per second version of the original Ridge Racer, so the very first one, and it just runs like buttery smooth. It's so awesome, and it's really high resolution too, so pretty cool that they threw that in there as well, and it kind of gives it even more value as the package overall. And I don't think this one has gone up that much either. I think it's a relatively inexpensive game for the PS1, so definitely check this one out if you like arcade racers. I think this is the best Ridge Racer game in the series. There's probably other ones that add more features and modes, but you know, I never felt that any of those modes pulled me away and said, wow, this is the new Ridge Racer template going forward. This one just has a place in my heart. It always will be the best Ridge Racer in my mind, until maybe they make one that maybe Ridge Racer Type 9 or whatever they're on will be the one to blow my mind on PS4. But for now, this will always be my favorite. Okay, so continuing with the trades I got at Voltage. This is a series that I've played the first game a little bit. I think I rented it back in the day. Never played the sequel, but they're supposed to be pretty good, and I really liked what I played of the first one. And even though it's limited by the PlayStation's power, it was a really fun game back in the day, and really did the best it could be to be a good game despite the limitations. And that is Spider-Man. It's by Neversoft, the company that did Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I think they did a really good job with it. And then I have Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, which is the other game in the series, so for the PlayStation 1. And this was before you could freely swing through the city and, you know, had the ability to go on the ground, you know, so they used the limitations. Or there was like a fog in the city or something to describe in the story why you couldn't land on there. And I thought that was pretty creative. They at least came up with a way so it wasn't just like, why can't I go down on the street? Spider-Man does it all the time. But the gameplay was really fun on the first one, so I'm really glad to have both of those. Now, this is a series that I can't wait to get all 3 games for, but I played a lot of this one at my friend Tom's house, so I'm really excited to check it out for my own. And as you know from past episodes, I have 2 gun cons now, which will be perfect for Point Blank 2. And if you've never played Point Blank games, they are light gun games that have a very arcadey style and tons of mini games. They have some of the more standard shooting gallery stuff, but then there's just really creative stuff, almost like the WarioWare games where they have those really small mini games that are so creative and everything. It's kind of reminiscent of that, and it's a great series, and I'd like to get 1 and 3 as well, obviously, which I will in the hunt for the full set. But this one I played a lot of, and it's an awesome game, so really glad to have that. Alright, I got 2 more games. One of them is funny because it's been mentioned twice on this show. Once because of a demo disc I got from my friend Kevin, and then I got the import title. No longer behind me, it's actually above me over there. And now I have the North American version of Legend of Legaia. It's in fantastic shape. It's one of those games that has 1 disc but is in a 2-disc wide case, which I don't mind, especially for the RPGs. It really was cool because it gave them this special look. It's not just a 1-disc game, single, thinner packaging. It's like got its own robust packaging, and sometimes it had extras and stuff too. But this one's just a 1-discer. But glad to have the actual game and not just the import in the collection now. And then this one's probably my favorite pickup of the month. I've played a little bit of this series, and it's another one in a 2-disc case, even though it's a single-disc RPG, and that is the first Wild Arms game. I know there's a lot of people who like this series, and I always liked what I've seen of it and played of it, being that it's got a lot of like Western influence and stuff, and it's got a cool disc art that's skewed, like the logo's over here, even though the disc is supposed to go this way because of the logo's here. It's kind of got a diagonal artwork, and then really cool map artwork in the background of the case there. So really cool to add this one to the collection. This is probably one of the ones I'm really looking forward to play the most after I play through Lunar, which I got in the past. So that's all the games for this episode. Now it's time, once again, to tally up the total. Now, I think last episode I either miscounted or there was a game previously that I had that I didn't count in the total collection because I have a spreadsheet that has the total number of games, and it's 1 off from the last episode. So I'm going to crunch the numbers again, and I'll let you know where I'm at. Okay, so the total I am at right now is 349 games for the PlayStation 1. So, like I said, there might be a discrepancy there. So maybe next episode the number will be off if you are adding it yourself, although don't do that work, just listen to what I have to say. Even if I'm wrong, I'll just update it the next episode. But yeah, so it might be off a little bit, but still 349, almost 350, let's say. If it is 350, 350 games so far, so I'm very, very happy to have that many so far. And I have a couple more that I got for another episode, but it wasn't part of this group, so I'm going to save that. And then I have some deals planned in the future with certain individuals. You know who you are if you're watching. So should get some more cool additions soon. So once again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more episodes. I know you're going to be excited to see some of the stuff coming up, so we'll see you then.